Did you know there's a business model ignored by 90% of people, but which has already taken thousands from absolute zero to a 5-digit monthly income without the need for initial capital, employees, or a physical office? The truth is, while many are still trying to hit the $1 million idea, there's a silent and highly scalable structure that the most attentive people are already taking advantage of. And the most curious part? This model is right in front of everyone, but goes unnoticed precisely because it lacks the glamour of a startup or the weight of a university degree. In this video, you will discover what this model is, why it works so well, and how ordinary people with access to the internet and discipline are creating consistent and automated income streams. The promise here is not easy money, but financial intelligence. And to show that this is more real than it seems, we will use principles that billionaires, investors, and high-performance entrepreneurs already understand. Cash flow, digital leverage, and asset building. The secret isn't how much you work, it's how well you understand the game. Welcome to Army Capital. I am Dominus, and on this channel you will uncover the secrets and the paths to achieve your financial independence. Most people are still trapped in the traditional model of earning money, selling their own time in exchange for a salary. And even when they try to become entrepreneurs, they end up replicating this mistake in formats that require constant presence, high fixed costs, and a low growth ceiling. This is not only inefficient, it's financially draining. The problem is not a lack of effort, it's a lack of strategy. It's not enough to work hard, you need to work smart. In this video, we will map out a powerful alternative: digital businesses with high margin potential, recurrence, and scalability. From building a small empire of informational products to strategies using automation, organic traffic, and progressive reinvestment. We'll dive into the habits, decisions, and mindset that truly differentiate those who reach $10,000 per month from those who spend years trying to make it. Ready to understand what's behind all of this? Has anyone ever wondered why so many people continue to insist on the same career paths, even when the results are visibly limited? The answer lies in how we've been conditioned. From a young age, we are taught to follow a path: school, college, job. There's no room to question whether this model still makes sense in today's world. But what if I told you that there are other routes, often invisible, with much more potential? Have you ever stopped to think that most of the big opportunities don't come disguised as security, but as uncertainty? And that's exactly what pushes so many people away. Profitable business models, like digital marketing, info products, affiliates, SaaS, or automations, often seem unstable or risky to those trained to seek stability. But does stability still exist when a single boss can cut off your only income source? How many times have you heard someone say, "This isn't for me," even before trying? There's a powerful psychological block called confirmation bias. People tend to look for evidence that supports what they already believe and ignore what challenges that view. If someone believes that only the rich get rich, they will hardly see a digital model as a legitimate opportunity. And that's how billion-dollar opportunities get missed. Do you also feel there's a distance between what you learn in school and what truly matters in adult life? No one teaches you how to generate passive income, scale a digital business, or build assets. Instead, we are taught to follow processes and obey structures. This creates efficient workers, but not wealth creators. Perhaps that's why so many still treat these modern models with distrust or even contempt. Have you noticed how much easier it is to believe in someone else's failure than in your own success? When someone tries a digital business and doesn't get immediate results, it becomes more proof that this doesn't work. But is the problem with the model or the execution? The right habits, persistence, and a long-term mindset make all the difference. And the rich know this. They test, adjust, persist, and that's how they win. Imagine if, instead of seeking external approval, people paid more attention to real data. There are thousands of people living exclusively off digital products, online consultations, automated content, and even niche marketplaces. The numbers are out there, but only those who are ready to question common sense can see this other side. Can you remember a time when you passed on an idea just because no one around you believed in it? This is more common than it seems. The fear of social judgment is one of the biggest growth limits. That's why many avoid even mentioning they're trying something outside the norm. But those who overcome this fear, they are exactly the ones who go the furthest, because they're willing to bet on themselves, even when no one else does. Have you ever thought about how it would be if more people saw digital entrepreneurship with the same respect that an MBA or a public position gets? Maybe the world will be full of creators, not just consumers. But while that recognition doesn't come, the few who understand the game silently build something big. And maybe, just maybe, you're one of them. Have you noticed how traditional businesses consume a huge amount of money before even making a profit? Rent, inventory, employees, heavy taxes. It's as if the entrepreneur starts running against time just to avoid sinking. Digital businesses, on the other hand, operate on a completely different logic. Low cost, high margin, and almost infinite scalability. A clear example of this is Ali Abdul, who built a multi-million-dollar digital education business using just a laptop, a camera, and consistency. This concept revolves around a simple idea: the less money you need to spend to keep the business running, the freer you are to experiment, scale, and grow. Creators like him show that it is possible to generate thousands of dollars in recurring revenue without the need for large physical structures. The infrastructure, a computer, an internet connection, and a few online tools. It seems simple, but that's exactly the beauty of the model. The big secret here is the lean structure. You don't need a physical office, inventory, or a giant team. Software does the heavy lifting. Platforms automate entire processes. And this allows a single person with the right knowledge to do what only large companies could before. That's why this model is so powerful. It puts the control back in the hands of the individual. You know that moment when you realize you're spending more to keep a project alive than actually making money from it? That happens all the time in conventional models. In digital businesses, however, you can start with almost no cost and only spend more as you're truly growing. This eliminates much of the risk and gives you more room to test ideas and strategies. Another key point is predictability. Many digital models work on recurrence, whether through subscriptions, closed communities, usage licenses, or monthly consultations. This creates a revenue base that flows in even when you're sleeping and allows for more secure investment planning. For those who think like investors, this is gold. Profitability with stability. Have you heard the phrase, profit is opinion, cash is fact? Well, it's never made more sense than in this context. Many physical businesses show profit on paper, but they don't have real cash flow. In digital businesses, money moves faster, with fewer intermediaries and without needing capital locked in physical assets. This quicker turnover is what turns a simple project into a solid income source. Digital businesses with light cash flow are not only more accessible, they are more resilient. In times of crisis, they adjust, optimize, and reinvent themselves with ease. Just look at what happened during the pandemic. While many physical businesses closed their doors, content creators, affiliates, freelancers, and info product creators thrived. Is this just coincidence or a sign that the game has changed? And the most interesting part, this model, despite being validated, is still widely ignored. Perhaps because it doesn't seem important enough, or perhaps because it requires autonomy and constant learning. But those who see its value and dive in for real are exactly the ones who manage to reach those $10,000 per month. And this brings us to the next strategic decision. How many times do we see someone reach their first 1,000 raised in profit, and instead of strengthening the project, spend it all as a reward? Pat Flynn, creator of Smart Passive Income, did it differently. He reinvested his first earnings into automations and systems that now sustain his digital empire, even when he is not directly involved. True financial building happens when the first earnings are used to further drive growth. Reinvesting doesn't require large amounts of money, just direction. Improving content quality, investing in automation tools, or expanding distribution may seem like small steps, but these strategic moves are what create the foundation for solid businesses. Every real reinvested becomes another gear working in favor of building an empire. Shifting from a short-term mindset to a builder's mentality may seem simple, but in practice, it requires maturity. Instead of treating the first money as a reward, the visionary sees it as fuel. This change in perspective transforms a micro-enterprise into a scalable structure. The focus shifts from the current month to the impact that can be generated in the next quarter, semester, or year. Stagnation often arrives stealthily, especially when initial results start to show. It's at this point that many relax, slow down, and miss the chance to reach higher levels. Frequent reinvestment, on the other hand, keeps the business in constant expansion. A positive cycle of evolution is created, where every action strengthens a foundation and opens up space for new opportunities. Financially successful people master this principle. Even after achieving great results, they continue investing in knowledge, structure, and innovation. They know that building wealth is continuous, not a finish line. It's not about winning once, but about creating a system that continues to generate value, with or without their direct presence. Many people report the feeling of being stuck in a cycle where effort doesn't correspond to the results. This pattern changes when profits begin to be allocated to activities that multiply their efficiency. Time becomes more productive, processes more intelligent, and the sense of progress starts making sense again. At this point, money begins working for those who generated it, not the other way around. As small improvements are consistently applied, a domino effect is formed. The brand becomes stronger, the delivery more professional, and the reach wider. Little by little, the business gains autonomy and begins to grow with less direct human effort. This invisible ladder, built step by step, is not born from luck, but from the silent habit of reinvesting. Interestingly, this behavior is almost never formally taught. It is learned through experience, trial and error, and adjustments. Over time, it becomes part of the entrepreneur's instinct. While some treat profit as a reward, others see it as a strategy. And it's these people who build sustainable businesses, capable of overcoming crises and continuing to prosper. Do you know how billionaires choose where to dedicate their time and money? It's rarely just about passion or instinct. There's almost a mathematical logic behind these decisions. Companies like Uber, Airbnb, and Canva are living examples. Highly scalable business models with significant margins, driven by the network effect. Understanding this pattern is like seeing the board from the perspective of someone who truly masters a game. Scalability is one of the first criteria. It's not enough for a business to work. It needs to be able to grow without costs increasing in the same proportion. Digital platforms do exactly this. They deliver value to thousands without proportional costs for each new user. Another essential factor is high margin. Business models that generate high gross profit, such as info products, subscription services, and software licensing, allow more money to be left over for reinvestment, innovation, and protection against crises. When margins are small, any unforeseen event can put the business at risk. But when margins are wide, the entrepreneur has room to make mistakes, adjust, and still grow healthily. Have you noticed how some businesses seem to get stronger as more people use them? That's the network effect. The more users, the more value the business offers. Social networks, marketplaces, and education platforms all become more attractive as they accumulate more participants. This phenomenon creates a kind of unfair advantage that few can compete against. That's why the rich are constantly seeking businesses that naturally generate network effects. Could anyone apply this logic on a smaller scale? The answer is yes. By building, for example, a community around a course, a YouTube channel, or a subscription project, the network effect begins to take place. Each new participant increases the perceived value for others. It's a silent lever that works 24/7 without requiring proportional effort to grow. Choosing models with scalability, margin, and network effect also helps to build what experts call anti-fragile businesses. Instead of breaking in the face of market instability, they become stronger. That's why, while traditional businesses suffer during crises, the smarter digital businesses continue to grow. It may seem like magic, but it's just well-applied strategy. Many might think this kind of vision is reserved for those who already have a lot of money. But is it really? The reality is that any entrepreneur at any level can train their eye to identify these characteristics before investing time and energy. Small strategic decisions early on can turn into huge competitive advantages in the future. Have you thought about how different it would be if, instead of just looking for quick money, the analysis began to consider scalability, margin, and network effect as mandatory criteria? Building wealth would cease to be a gamble and become a conscious engineering process. And perhaps, looking back in a few years, many will realize that the secret was never hidden. It just seemed too simple to be taken seriously. Many people believe they need to do everything themselves for the business to grow. But if we look at creators like Justin Welsh, who runs a multi-six-figure business with a completely lean structure based on freelancers, it's clear the impact of delegating early. Real growth requires strategic collaboration, not isolated effort. The growth of a business is directly linked to the ability to focus on the activities that truly move the needle. Solving everything on your own is not a sign of strength. It's a sign of limited scalability. Every hour freed up to create and innovate is an hour that pushes a project to a new level. Now, imagine the difference between those who wait to be ready to hire and those who anticipate. When the reinforcement comes before the overload, growth happens naturally without desperation. Successful entrepreneurs know this. They protect their time as if it were gold, because deep down, that's exactly what it is. Many people think, but I still make little money I can't spend now. The thing is, consistent revenue doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's the result of the ability to multiply efforts. A video editor, a virtual assistant, a traffic manager. Small helps that free up precious hours to focus on what truly matters: growth, positioning, and scaling. Building a support structure is not just about productivity. It's about changing mental levels. Stopping to think like someone who does everything and start to act like someone who leads a real project. When that happens, even the way the market sees you changes. Professionalism attracts bigger opportunities. What if I told you that you could already start structuring this now, even in a simple way? Delegating a small task here, outsourcing a function there. Every move counts. Every inch of freedom gained opens up space to create something bigger. And in the end, it's this freedom that separates businesses that survive from those that thrive. Delegating early doesn't mean hiring without thinking. It means understanding that growth requires preparation. The next leap you're seeking may not depend on working more hours, but on working better, with the right people by your side. So, when that doubt hits between trying to solve everything alone or building a support base, remember, those who plant structure today reap growth tomorrow. And those who understand this early play the game of abundance, not survival. Every great empire starts small. Sometimes, it even begins with a project that seemed irrelevant at first. Tim Ferriss is a classic example. He started with a blog and a book that became a bestseller, and today he has built a portfolio that includes podcasts, courses, investments, and personal brands, all from the same audience cultivated at the beginning. Most people abandon their first project as soon as they encounter difficulty. But those who look beyond the short term understand that the first business can be the foundation for something much bigger. Every client served, every lead captured, every digital asset built adds up in a powerful compound effect. Have you ever imagined having multiple digital assets working for you at the same time? An ebook generating leads, an online course selling on autopilot, a YouTube channel monetizing old content. This doesn't happen by chance. It happens because someone had the vision to cultivate and reinvest from the beginning, even when the results were still modest. The big secret here is consistency. Building a portfolio of digital assets is like planting a forest. It takes time to grow, but when it grows, the ecosystem sustains itself almost on its own. Every piece of content, every product, every email list are pieces that, when well connected, form a legacy that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not uncommon to see people underestimate the power of initial results. 100 views here, 10 sales there. It seems small, but is it really? Because in the long term, it's the smart accumulation of these small wins that forms a solid structure hard to knock down. And when this structure starts to feed itself, Growth no longer depends solely on manual effort. Do you know that feeling of working for the money? Building digital assets is the opposite. Making money and value work for you. Every new project is not an extra burden, but a piece that connects to what already exists, expanding reach and financial stability. It's like expanding territory, little by little, until you dominate your own market. The beauty of this virtuous cycle is that it's accessible. It doesn't require inheritance, influential contacts, or million-dollar investments. It requires vision, patience, and discipline. Every action you take today, even if small, is a seed planted for a more abundant and free future. So, the next time a project seems too small to continue, think twice. It might be exactly what, down the road, will make up your asset portfolio. And when that happens, the game changes, not by luck, but by the intelligent building that started long before the applause arrived. How many times have great opportunities gone unnoticed because they seem too small in beginning? Building financial freedom, a solid business, a life with more autonomy, rarely starts with something grand. It starts with daily decisions, the courage to act before certainty, the willingness to build while most are still waiting. Every small step you take today puts you miles ahead of those still planning to start. If there's one pattern among those who achieve extraordinary results, it's this. Consistent action trumps isolated talent. The journey to $10,000 per month and beyond isn't made of random leaps, but strategic choices aligned with a long-term vision. Now, the question is simple. Where do you want to be in 6 months? Because the difference between staying in the same place and living a new reality lies in what you decide to build from now on. Every choice you make today carries a potential to shape your financial future. The ignored business models, the discrete strategies, the silent habits of reinvestment and asset building are exactly what sets apart those who only dream from those who truly transform their lives. If you've made it this far, you're already among those who see beyond the obvious, and that alone gives you an advantage. If this content made sense to you, you already know. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next strategies that could accelerate your journey. Also, share it with anyone who needs to open their eyes to new possibilities. Here, the mission is clear. Build freedom with intelligence, discipline, and a long-term vision. And your walk toward that begins now. Now, you know, not because someone gave it to you, but because you came looking for it. If you stay on this path, you'll stop chasing money and start making it chase you. This was another report from Army Capital. I'm Dominus, and I'm watching you.